Maria Sharapova identified the precise structural flaw that the Women's Tennis Association has been covertly concealing as she entered the Bloomberg Live stage. And the living evidence that Sharapova was correct is Alex Eala, who is ranked 31st in the world. Has nothing to do with drama. This is the tale of how a single player from Quezon City, Philippines, made the most influential organization in women's tennis face its long-standing shortcomings, and why a 5-time Grand Slam champion spoke up and made statements that circuit authorities will not acknowledge.
So I remember attending the first round of her match, which was a tough match at the U.S. Open, and then I went back home, and then I was contemplating coming back, and I wanted to witness her win because I think she has such an amazing head on her shoulders and the game, and I think she has a voice and a platform that's going to, transcend.
Maria Sharapova's criticism during a Bloomberg Live event in October 2025 raised warning flags at WTA headquarters. Sharapova, a 5-time Grand Slam winner and former world number 1 who was aware of institutional influence from both perspectives, declared unequivocally that outside of the 4 Grand Slams, sports spectators frequently show no interest in women's tennis. Coco Gauff served as Sharapova's focal example. Sharapova noted that whereas 99% of the U.S. while the general public was aware of Gauff's name, relatively few were aware of his upcoming performance location. The architecture of the WTA's marketing failure is exposed by that one statistic: 99% awareness and almost zero follow-through. Sharapova, however, did not end there. Sharapova focused on the financial aspect that is typically overlooked in discussion. Yes, it is noteworthy that the WTA celebrated equal prize money at Grand Slams. However, Sharapova made a clear statement about what lies beneath that headline. The prize check was $120,000 at a women's tournament in China that was a legitimate WTA-sanctioned stop rather than a small club event. That discrepancy was deemed ridiculous by Sharapova. Sharapova presented the 8 to 9 months of professional competition that make up the WTA calendar as a structural issue that requires attention. The sport was less captivating and engaging for the worldwide audience it sorely needs because the ATP, WTA, and ITF were functioning as separate organizations. To that point, everything changed because Alex Eala, whether or not Sharapova had named her, was at the core of what she was telling.
Their victories are so special, but if you treat them too high, and you treat the tough moments as a really big low in your career, it's hard to find that happy medium, and I think that's what that sweet spot is.
You must carefully examine the time frame in order to comprehend why Sharapova's remarks are significant, particularly in relation to Alex Eala. When a 5-year-old girl in the Philippines watched Maria Sharapova, the world number 2 at the time, on television in 2011, she saw Sharapova's strong ground strokes and authoritative attitude as the model for how Eala would eventually play the sport. Alexandra Eala was born in Quezon City on May 23, 2005. Eala's family wasn't one of casual athletes. At the 1985 Southeast Asian Games, Eala's mother, Risa Eala, won a bronze medal in the 100-meter backstroke. Miko Eala, Eala's brother, studied with Alexandra at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. The discipline of elite athletics was not aspirational, it was structural and operational in that household. Alexandra Eala moved to the Rafael Nadal Academy in 2018 at the age of 13, not as a guest of top instruction but as a graduate of it. Linda Noskova, a player whose name would re-emerge years later in a far more significant setting, was defeated by Eala in the final of the esteemed Les Petits tournament that same year. Eala has already won the 2020 Australian Open Girls Doubles Championship and the 2021 French Open Girls Doubles title by 2022. Eala became the first Filipino in history to win a junior Grand Slam singles championship when she won the girls singles title at the 2022 U.S. Open without losing a single set. The youngster who had grown up watching Sharapova on TV went on to become the most decorated junior athlete in her nation's history. However, at Bloomberg Live, Sharapova was actually discussing what transpired next.
It is not just tennis, it's fashion, it's art, it's culture, it's having a platform, and I think she does brilliantly of merging all of those together. Their victories are so special, but if you treat them too high, and you treat the tough moments as a really big low in your career, it's hard to find that happy medium, and I think that's what that sweet spot is.
Alexandra Eala was a wild card in the Miami Open SATA 1000 event in March 2025, which is one of the most competitive stops on the calendar. Eala was ranked 140th at the time. That figure is significant since the actions that followed were unprecedented in the Open era. Grand Slam champion Yelena Ostapenko was upset by Eala in straight sets in the round of 64. Eala upset Grand Slam finalist Madison Keys in straight sets in the round of 32. The world number 2 and triple Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek was then upset in straight sets by Eala in the round of 1/6 at the same event. 3 major winners and 1 wild card competed in straight sets. The first wild card in Open-era history to achieve that was Alexandra Eala. The streak came to an end against Jessica Pegula in the semi-finals, but the ranking damage was already irrevocable by the end of the competition. Eala had risen from number 140 to a peak of number 75. Eala finished the 2025 season at number 50, had a 68.4% win percentage, and had defeated 4 players in the top 20. This is what was often overlooked by the mainstream media. The sprint to Miami wasn't unexpected. It was the natural result of a player whose entire developmental foundation, the left-handed, two-handed backhand game, coach Joan Bosch, and the Nadal Academy model, had been built toward precisely this level. Eala wasn't what was unexpected. It was unexpected that the WTA's marketing apparatus lacked a genuine way to spread the word about what had just transpired, especially to the fan base that was already producing 15 to 20% engagement rates on Instagram, much higher than the WTA's own average.
There's any current players or past players on the women's side that you particularly looked up to in terms of your game style, like you wanting to kind of emulate them on the court?
Definitely. Growing up, my absolute favorite was Maria Sharapova. I guess I loved.
Any uncertainty over Alexandra Eala's position in this sport was eliminated by the 2026 season. Eala advanced to the singles and doubles semi-finals of the Auckland ASB Classic in January 2026. Eala defeated 5th-seeded Magdalena 6-3, 6-2 after defeating Petra Marcinko 6-0, 6-2. She then lost to 7th-seeded Wang Xinyu in 3 sets. Next was Dubai. Eala came to the Dubai Tennis Championships in February 2026 at number 47. Eala faces Jasmine Paolini, ranked 8th in the world, in the round of 32. Paolini earned 2 set points at 5-6 in the second set. Eala deleted both. Eala then won 6-1, 7-6-5, converting on the 5th match points. With the triumph, Alexandra became the youngest Asian player in history to win in the top 10 at multiple WTA 1000 events at the age of 20 years and 168 days. Naomi Osaka had owned the record that collapsed. Alexandra Eala's rating peaked at number 31 on February 23, 2026.
This is someone I get along very well with on and off the court. Again, another physical battle, but obviously against an opponent that was playing on a high level, so I'm glad to overcome it. I was really blown away by how inspired she was. I mean, I was blown away by watching a great athlete.
Sharapova's remarks on Bloomberg Live went beyond prize money. Sharapova was highlighting a systemic disconnect between the real market demand created by players like Alexandra Eala and the WTA's promotional resources. Tour organizers are unable to deny the figure's confirmation of this. Filipinos comprise around 10% of the population in the United Arab Emirates. More people regularly attended IS games in Abu Dhabi and Dubai than those with the top 10 players. The only analogy that seemed to work. 4 tournament directors on the circuit was Manny Pacquiao at the height of his international prominence. Eala creates that type of crowd pull. Additionally, compared to the WTA's own average, her fan following on Instagram generates engagement rates of 15 to 20%. Eala is more than just a talented tennis player. According to the verified data, Eala is opening up Southeast Asia in a manner that no other WTA player has, not Lena breaking new ground in the Chinese market or Naomi Osaka's international career. The tour has never seen something like what Eala is doing for the Philippines and the wider region. And that's precisely where the most significant revelation occurs. The 4th-ranked player in the world, Coco Gauff, who Sharapova mentioned as the primary illustration of a lost marketing opportunity, publicly complimented Alexandra Eala for introducing a new audience to the sport. Give that some time to sit. Eala's fan infrastructure is bringing something to the sport that the WTA's own promotional engine did not build and cannot duplicate. According to the WTA's most marketable and active asset, at the same time, the organization that Sharapova attacked on Bloomberg Live is profiting from the market energy that it has structurally failed to sustain. This dilemma became unavoidable in March 2026 during the Indian Wells Open. Eala advanced when world number 4 Gauff withdrew due to an arm and shoulder injury after defeating world number 52 Diana Yasser in a taxing 2-hour and 43-minute match, with Eala leading 6-2, 2-0. Then, in just 55 minutes, Eala lost 6-0, 6-2 to Linda Noskova, the same player Eala had defeated in the Les Petits final in 2018, in the round of 16. Almost immediately after Eala left, conversations about declining viewership ensued. Dressed up with refuted allegations of manipulated matches and fake contracts, the so-called crisis that viral channels termed WTA in shock is actually pointing to something genuine. Engagement declines when Eala loses in ways that reveal exactly what Sharapova said. The WTA's disjointed schedule and the $120,000 prize check in China are not examples of abstract policy mistakes. They are the reason a player who draws crowds comparable to Pacquiao in the UAE makes $105,720 in Indian Wells, bringing her total earnings from 2026 to about $397,712. The organization that benefits from Eala's market pull hasn't yet developed the structural backing that Sharapova is requesting. Alexandra Eala is ranked 32nd as of late March 2026, Eala overtook Maninkaya Sawangkeo of Thailand to become the highest-ranked Southeast Asian player in WTA history. $1, $761, $397 is the career prize money. Eala is now getting ready for the clay court season. The tournament, which has a $1,206,446 prize fund, is scheduled to take place in Austria from April 6-12. Maria Sharapova keeps talking. That was not the end of the Bloomberg Live criticism. According to all confirmed stories, tour executives are still concerned over Sharapova's remarks regarding the WTA's marketing shortcomings. The 5-year-old who first saw Sharapova on a Quezon City television screen is now 20 years old. Naomi Osaka's record has been surpassed by Eala. Eala is more popular than Manny Pacquiao. Coco Gauff has thanked Eala, and whether or not the most influential organization in women's tennis is willing to acknowledge it, Eala has made it face its own structural flaws. No WTA press release, viral channel, or Bloomberg Live stage have yet to provide an answer to one query. Will the WTA really have the infrastructure in place to capture what Alexandra Eala unlocks when she breaks into the top 10 and her career trajectory indicates that time is approaching? Or will the organization continue to point to a $120,000 prize check in China as a whole generation of tennis fans from Southeast Asia watch on platforms it has yet to master?